Hey everybody, my name is Jim Farmer. I'm the festival director of Out on Film, Atlanta's LGBTQ film festival. We're celebrating our 35th anniversary this year with some amazing programs. And one of our favorite and most popular programs is always our Homegrown shorts. We had a screening on Thursday that was a spectacular screening. Everybody loved the films. A lot of filmmakers were there. So thank you for all of you who were there. It was an amazing event. So we're going to have a conversation with some of these filmmakers today. And we have, okay, yay. Before we start, we have one more person joining us. Alexandra has joined us. Okay, so why don't we just sort of go around the room, introduce yourself and your film, and then we'll go from there with other questions. Why don't we start with Kyle?
All right, so my name is Kyle Hamlin, and I wrote, directed, and edited Perfect First Date.
Okay, great. Alvin and Craig?
Hi, I'm Alvin Agarrat, and I'm the director of the short film Held Together.
Okay.
And my name is Craig Washington, and I'm the writer for Held Together.
Great. Johnny?
Hi, I'm Johnny Kilberg, and I directed Pierce Me.
Oh, great. Alexandra Garris?
I'm Charis, and I wrote and produced and acted in One Days.
Great.
And I'm Alexandra Faith. I directed One Days.
Oh, great. Thank you all so much for being here. And Thursday night was spectacular, and the scores of the films are all so very high. So thank you all for letting us have this program. I love being able to share great programming, especially when it's local, great programming. So thank you so much. Why don't we, as we proceed, why don't we just sort of go in the same order? So I'm just curious when you all made your film and where did you make it?
Yeah, so I made Perfect First Date in Peachtree City, Georgia, about 30 minutes southwest of Atlanta. And I made it in July of 2021, so last summer.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, I made Held Together. It was right in the middle of the pandemic, and we were all in lockdown.
Yeah.
And Craig did an amazing article, and I visualized the idea of what we could do with it. I pitched it to him. He was receptive. He was like, well, I don't know if he didn't see it at first, not like in a negative way. He was like, oh, I'd never thought about that. And we did it. Having to do it during COVID was a little bit more difficult because we had to figure out if I was able to meet a few people in person. A lot of us had to do it virtually, but we all came together and held it together, to be corny. Craig?
Yeah, it was a great experience. So Alvin's vision was very infectious, I'll say that. The original article was published in May of 2020. So, and HIV Plus magazine, which is it's from, or a specific focus from The Advocate.
Okay.
Yeah, Pierce Me, it all began kind of with the lead actor, Chiquitita. It was her first time on camera, and we were trying to find a way to do drag queen romance type story. And we almost filmed it in Atlanta, but we ended up filming it in Brooklyn due to scheduling and people's locations. But both cities have a love for drag, and we just wanted to really highlight that. So that's where Pierce Me kind of came from, but we filmed it in 2021 summer. So last August. Yes, it was August 2021. And it was hot. We were sweating all pretty hard. We were glistening. They look good on that screen because they were glistening, y'all. It was hot.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So, well, do you want to go first or?
You can go.
Okay. We shot One Days in August 2020 in Atlanta. Wait, is that right?
2021. It was last year.
2021. What's time? I like started writing it towards the end of 2020, and then we were supposed to make it earlier, and it kept getting pushed back because of COVID, and so 2021, and then and we shot it in Decatur. Sorry, my cat just made a lot of noise. We shot it in Decatur in my kitchen.
Oh, great. What's why is it important for these stories to be told?
Well, for my film, Perfect First Date, it's really a film about discovery and, kind of coming to terms with your own sexuality. And so it kind of reflects I feel like a lot of queer youth and how they grow up, like going on dates with people and just trying to discover themselves. And like some people don't realize until later in life. And I know like 20 is not super late, but there are people that have never been on dates and they're in their 20s. And so I just thought it was pretty relevant to a lot of people and how they live their lives.
Great.
Yeah, I'll let Craig handle the bulk of this question, but I just felt it was important to one, sort of showcase and highlight femphobia within the Black gay community. And I just feel it's really always important to showcase Black gay voices as much as possible. And I love the story that Craig wrote, and I just felt it was valuable to get it out to as many people as possible. And I'm a visual person, so that's what I came up with. But Craig?
Sure. And the piece that I wrote is based on real observations and experiences in terms of how internalized homophobia and stigma manifest and wound Black queer men, and how, as an effect of, which is just a common effect of internalized oppression, leads to rewounding and wounding others, in that course, which erodes community, erodes the spirit. The two most important messages that I wanted to carry was that femphobia is something that seriously needs to be addressed, and that we as Black queer men need to have take more responsibility in addressing it, as well as the effects of it. And as per the title, which is based on a quote by James Baldwin, in which he says that he feels that the world is really held together by a few people. And I wanted to speak to and herald those artists and community organizers and writers and everyday people who, as Black queer men, along with others from the Black spectrum of Black queer community, hold us together. And we look to them for our healing and our progress.
Okay, great.
One of the producers of Pierce Me is Bitch Puddin', who was an Atlanta queen. That's where she really began her long, fruitful career. And we were just so tired of like drag queens always being the punchline of a joke, even if they are in something that it's funny or it's really depressing and nobody wants to be queer or a drag queen. And we just wanted to make a movie where when you watched it, like when you leave, you feel good, like you want to be gay. Like, so there's so many films today that just are so, powering and like its intensity, which we need, but we want people to walk away and be like, yeah, like I'm happy to be alive, and be a drag queen. So we just sent it, we thought Chiquitita was the best, choice for the role. There's a really long, incredible story about how she was vetted, and it was all through me sneaking into a party at Tribeca Film Festival. It's a really interesting story, but at the end of it, I ended up getting her number and getting her interested because I didn't really know her. And we just, that's kind of why we thought it was a very important story to tell, because, not only is she a trans woman trying to court a cis man, and this idea that like, there are some, get pegged, why not? it's this idea of like, you know, she's the woman, but she's the dominant one. And it's this concept of really playing on gender roles, which, as you know, I love to do as a non-binary filmmaker. I like to play with the gender roles. And we just really wanted to make a story that we thought anyone could watch and enjoy and identify with. And there was this one room in Maryland where like a ton of straight people were watching this short, and all of the men laughed at her first line because they've all been in that situation. And that's a trans woman with a gay man. Like, they've never been in that situation, but they have. And that's what we're trying to do, is to connect two people that were all the same, and try to get it off these barriers that we put up that were different, you know. Yeah. To roll off that.
Thanks.
Let me ramble a bit. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so similarly to what everyone has said, I think it's important to tell these stories just to have the representation. Like, I didn't come out until my mid-20s. And I remember like the first thing I turned to was film and TV to just like have some context for, you know, who I was and like what my life could be like. Cause I grew up from like a very conservative Christian upbringing, and I didn't really have any like context for that. So just in general, I feel like that's why representation overall is important, to be able to see yourself and how you fit into the world oftentimes. And then I wrote this. It's a proof of concept for a feature that I wrote like around the time when there was like a bunch of bakeries that denied gay couples wedding cakes. And I remember that happening, and I was like, can you imagine just like this moment of joy and like that you're heading towards, and then these moments in life like that just like cut right through it. And I was like, I feel like, I don't know, I just wanted to make things that mostly highlight queer joy, but show these little moments throughout our lives that those build up to just make you feel trodden down on and like that you're wrong. And I wanted to make something that's like sweet and relatable, that it showcases the love, and would be something that like my dad would watch, but then has that moment of like showing how queer joy gets stepped on, to just try and bridge that gap in some way.
Okay.
You know, so yeah.
Did you want to say anything else, Alexandra?
I think she covered it.
Okay, great. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So as filmmakers, you work tirelessly to make your films and get it all and edit it and get a finished product. What's it like, that moment when you can actually see this on the big screen and see it with an audience?
Well, for me, it was everything. It was this was my first short film.
Oh, wow.
And it was my first time seeing it in a theater, and then my first time seeing it with more than 10 people. So it was really electrifying to hear the reactions. Like, there were parts that I wrote that I didn't realize were funny until I watched it with 50 other people. And I think there's the idea of having a community,
Sure.
of like-minded people coming to watch these films is very powerful.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I could definitely echo that. Like I stated, we created this during the pandemic. So we created this when we felt like we had lost all connection.
Yep.
And for a while, I know for me personally, like I wondered if we were ever going to get back to a place where things started to feel more normal. Seeing this number one, on the big screen, was just very awe-inspiring for me. I'd never had anything that I created on a screen that large before. Watching it with the group, first, like, I'm glad there were no cameras focused on me, because I was sitting in my chair shaking, because I was like, well, how is everyone else going to respond to this? But hearing people laughing, sometimes when I expected, sometimes when I didn't, hearing them snapping and, clapping along, or like if Craig said something, they'd be like, yeah. And so that was like, oh, this is really cool. Like it felt really, really good. And it definitely helped calm me down.
Yeah.
Because I was like, okay, what if they think it sucks? I don't know. It's just, but yeah, just feeling embraced by the crowd, and then definitely by a community. It meant a lot. It definitely meant a lot.
Great.
And also, before I go, it meant a lot to have some of the people that we honored in the film that were in the audience, and I didn't know that.
Oh, nice.
So that was good to see them sort of get their flowers in that moment was very special for me.
Okay.
It was a gift, as Alvin said, to just experience the response. And also, as we said earlier, in the matter of representation, to see specifically, and I'm intentionally centering Black queer men, see their story being held up to the light in a serious interrogation, a serious coverage of an issue that is important to them, and just to see themselves, experience themselves being valued. It was pure joy.
Great.
Yeah, it was funny with Pierce Me because I don't know why, but like when we all were watching it in the editing room, we knew something was missing, and it was watching it with people is what was missing. I
Yeah.
think like we truly had made something that was kind of for an audience to just kind of enjoy and have a good time. So to see it with people in an audience before only justified the short story we were able to tell in such a small amount of moments, to go through all of that. And it just, satisfying, I think is fun. And people, today want to feel kind of satisfied when they watch something. So I don't know. It definitely was a movie that I enjoy watching with people because there's just so many quirks and moments and joy and love and so much beautiful transness. It's just like too good not to watch with other people. So yes, it's great when you're sharing it with people, because that's the point. The point is to share the story with people, to enjoy themselves. You want to see other people get enjoyed by the story that you told, and that's the whole point. So
Okay.
it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would be lying if I if I said that I didn't feel like I was going to throw up first. But it was awesome. I mean, same as, what everybody's saying, you think you're onto something, you hope that it looks the way that you want it to look, you hope that everything comes across the way you intend for it to come across, but you just don't know. And probably the same as everybody else, I've watched this 500 times. I don't know. So by the 501st time, it's like, I don't even know. Like, who knows? Maybe it's good, maybe it isn't. I'm not sure. So when it's finally, on the big screen and it's like, oh, that looks exactly how I intended. You can kind of take this big breath. And then of course, to feel other people engage with it. And similarly, again, like there were moments where people chuckled where I was like, oh, was that funny? Okay, cool. I didn't realize that was funny. And there's just this different energy when you can finally see other people's reactions and hear from other people about their experience and what they took away from it. That is just beautiful and validating and exciting all at the same time.
Great.
Oh yeah, but everything Alexandra said, she got it. But I will say, like, I'm used to just being an actor and but I've always written. I've just never, I've been more insecure about sharing writing because it's always easier for me to like speak, be myself through other people's words because you still get to hide a little bit. And so having something that I like created and wrote, watching it come to life and and like seeing people's reactions was like just very powerful for me and validating. So yeah, it was very cool.
Great. How obviously Atlanta has grown so much over the years as a filmmaking mecca. How inspired are you all by the fact that there are so many working Atlanta filmmakers out there doing really good work?
Well, I think it's everything that people are making films here, especially films that like like all the ones that we made.
Mhm.
Because like growing up, I don't know, like Atlanta wasn't as big of a media hub as it is now.
Yeah.
So the fact that Out on Film has been doing this for 35 years, um, and it's only getting bigger and better. I don't know. It's really inspiring. It makes me want to continue making films.
Thank you.
Yeah, I could say that when I moved here, Atlanta, I moved here 14, 15 years ago. And at that time, I definitely sensed what was happening in Atlanta. It was part of the reason why I decided to move here. What I didn't anticipate and what surprised me, what really motivated me the most was there's a large Black, gay, queer community of activists that I wasn't as associated with when I was in New York.
Okay.
And they definitely motivated me to do so much just being in Atlanta. And it's helped focus a lot of my work towards and for the Black gay community in a way that it definitely wasn't focused like that in New York.
Okay.
So I love just what being in Atlanta and what I've experienced and the people that I've met here. I don't think it would have sort of changed or molded me in the way had I stayed in New York, had I moved to LA or any place else. So yeah, Atlanta itself is definitely having to me a wonderful growth and outreach in my expression, my work, and my voice.
Great.
So I appreciate Atlanta for that.
It's exciting to see for LGBTQ community at large to have, you know, the expansion of filmmakers to just show our vision, our experience, and have control over our own representation.
Mhm.
That is critical for any oppressed community, certainly for ours, particularly for Black queer community. It's exciting to see. I love my brother Alvin, and his work, I think, is critical for, again, the representation of Black queer communities. So it's a great time to be gay in Atlanta and see this renaissance.
Great.
Yeah, definitely.
The film movement happening in Atlanta, I think, is somewhat thing that a lot of people just didn't see coming, but then a lot of people did see coming. So I think it's really inspiring that people are wanting to make content. And I think it's because Georgia, the state, has always kind of been this incredible area and the whole map of this country that we like are living in. And it's always had this unique way of kind of being really in the middle of a lot of different ideas and cultures. And that kind of, you know, combination creates a lot of different stories that need to be told right now, and conversations that maybe areas like New York doesn't know how to say because they don't have the same, you know, there's not as many people in that state in, let's say, Georgia, that have that mentality that's different than your own, so drastic. So these ideas are only getting stronger and these films are only getting louder and the content's only getting better. And it's very inspiring to see Atlanta in this moment in film history, because it's, you know, it's solidified itself as the other major city between LA and New York. It's Atlanta. I mean, period. There's no question about that. And let's face it, Atlanta is beautiful. So who wouldn't want to film on those streets? I mean, LA can just be so commercial and New York is very difficult. Atlanta is, you know, so hey, yeah.
Yeah, I find it really energizing and inspiring to be here and to constantly, I feel like every day, practically, I'm driving by some set of something, some signs where I can't park. And any other time it's, you know, why can't I park here? When I see that it's a film production, I'm like, yes, do it. I love it. It's really exciting. And I also from the Northeast, and I would say that yeah, it's especially cool to see so many Black filmmakers here and Black actors and who are doing so much and really moving the industry forward. And yeah, it's a real privilege to be here.
Great.
Yeah, echoing what everyone said, it's very inspiring just to see so many people making their own content. And I feel like in Atlanta specifically, I haven't lived in LA or New York, but it feels very like filmmakers, there's a mindset that when one of us wins, we all do, because Atlanta can still be kind of underestimated, I think. And obviously the talent is here. And I think that I really like that it seems like kind of a collaboration between Atlanta filmmakers, and we're like all on each other's side. And I know like with this short, I wrote it for a class, and that we didn't get to make them for the class because of COVID. And then I saw my other classmates starting to make their own shorts, and I was like, oh, well, I can just make mine, and so it's like an atmosphere of inspiration rather than competition, I feel like.
Okay, great. I have one final question. What's next for the film, and what's next for you?
So in terms of what's next for my film, I think this is kind of it. Like this is kind of the final hurrah for it. I made it over a year ago. And so the fact that I even got to see the light of day with an audience is beyond my wildest dreams. I'll probably share it out to all my friends and family now so they can watch it. But for me, got a job as a production assistant on a TV show. So I'm going to do that for a bit while I finish up polishing a feature screenplay that I would love to shop around and get created, because it's also set in Georgia, where I grew up. So I'm hoping that can hopefully see the light of day pretty soon.
Great.
Yeah, it's a two-parter. For the film, that's an awesome question. That's something that Craig and I have to really sit down and contemplate what we do next with it. We get a lot of requests to screen it, or where can we watch it. And what we find and what we would like to do is, the film itself works best as a conversation starter. Like, it really works well where afterwards we're able to sit down and discuss it. So that's something that we'll probably do some more. Someone reached out to me and they wanted me to screen it in Houston after it aired it out on film. And I was like, okay, that's sure. Let's make it happen.
Great.
For me personally, as a filmmaker, I'm always writing. I'm working on several documentaries, one with Craig and some other things I'm brewing, and I'm trying to get some TV projects off the air with another friend of mine. She has a deal at Warner, and we've been working on some projects to get out there. So some LGBTQ, some not, but still just trying to get the work.
Yeah. I'm not a filmmaker. I'm a writer and activist, and I walk in a lineage of Black queer men, angelic troublemakers, as Byron Rustin would say. When I think of the work that Alvin is doing, including the work that Alvin and I collaborate on, I think of Marlon Riggs, the legendary filmmaker who didn't live to see this point in time, and created such valuable work. Black Is, Black Ain't, Tongues Untied. And I think that there is a mandate. I feel like there's certainly a commitment, and it's a burning passion to continue that work.
Okay. Great.
So I mean, for the film is gonna have some more places to go. It's gonna play in the city again soon with New Fest. It's gonna be in San Francisco soon. It did play at MoMA, so that was very interesting. The film was part of this special screening at MoMA. And I think after that, I mean, I there's no means to continue it or not in terms of like a feature or whatnot, but so I'll, it'll probably go online somewhere soon. And then I would say for me, just, I think I got one more short in me, but at the same time, there's a screenplay that is definitely finished and is very much ready to be shopped around. But I think I was trying to take the year with Pierce Me and let it have its life, but there is something, and we are very excited about it, but as life is, and art takes time. So we shall see.
Great.
Yeah, we're going to continue. We have been submitting to other film festivals, and so hopefully there's a number of showings to come for that. I'll let Charis kind of talk about the, feature version of it. And for me personally, I am in the middle of writing a TV series, so hopefully that can get some traction, and we'll see it someday.
Great.
Yeah, like Alexandra said, this is the beginning of our festival circuit, which is super exciting. So hopefully we'll be playing more places, and there is a feature version of this. So ideally, ideally someone would like to buy the idea and help us make the feature, because I don't really want to be in charge of anything ever again. But yeah, so that would be like the long-term goal for the short. And then Alexandra and I have a production company together that she really started. And so, hopefully making some more small projects at the end of the year, just some more shorts. And then hopefully Alexandra's longer project at some point in the next year or so. And then for me personally, I'm just, out here auditioning. I've had a couple episodes of some shows this year, so I'm just hoping for another booking as an actor soon.
Okay, great. The program is Homegrown Shorts. It screened in person at the Midtown Arts Cinema last week to great acclaim. Thank you all for being there. It will continue to stream through the end of our festival. And so if you're out there and you have not seen these shorts, please watch these. Please vote for these. We do have an audience award for best. We have all kinds of audience awards. So please vote. Tell your friends to vote for these as well, to watch them. There's some extraordinary work here. Thank you all for our filmmakers for sharing your films with us. And thank you all for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.